everyone, it's me Crafty and welcome back to my witchcraft series. This video is going to be called Moon Time, and it will be discussing menstruation and the sacredness of it and our teachings regarding it and that type of thing. Now, I realized as soon as I said the M word, there's probably people out there that went, ew, you know, why would you talk about something like that, or oh, gross, or whatever. And I'll just address that in a bit. We call it moon time, and we've always considered it to be a very sacred time for the woman. It's not considered to be anything negative or horrible or dirty or a curse or anything silly like that. Like I said, we've always believed it to be a very sacred time for the woman. It was a time of life and death that occurred within her body at the same time. And while she had these dual energies going on, it was believed that her own personal power was amplified, that she was very, very, very powerful. And it wasn't considered a bad thing. And, you know, instead she was greatly revered for it and very well respected. They had moon lodges where she would, during her moon time, she would go and she would stay at the lodge until she was done her moon time. And during that time, the female elders, they would teach her various teachings. You had your women's kind of teachings that they would teach specifically for women, as well as additional teachings like with regarding medicines and ceremonies and rites and prayers and all kinds of stuff. At the same time, she wasn't expected to do any chores, no heavy lifting. She was expected to rest and to do her teachings and to nurture herself. And this happened on a regular basis. Every time it was her moon time, she got to go to the moon lodge, and this is what would take place there. And she was never looked down upon. It was never considered anything negative or bad. And the men revered her and respected her during this time. They weren't considered to be, like, a woman wasn't considered to be, the whole process wasn't considered to be negative, period. It was very, very sacred, and it was recognized that it was a time of life and death. I mean, the death aspect would be, you know, she was releasing the old uterus lining, the unfertilized egg was being released. The life aspect, the life energy that was going on at the same time was the renewal, the fresh lining. You know, they recognized that this was a time of life and death, and that these dual energies were going on within her at the same time. They also recognized, like I said, that her personal power was greatly amplified during this time. So therefore, she was treated with, you know, a high level of respect, and she was revered. Women are the only ones that can bring forth life into the world. Of course, males help with that process, but she is the one that nurtures that life within her for 9 months, and she is the only one between the two sexes that can carry her spirit and that of her unborn baby or babies within her at the same time. She can house her spirit and another one inside of her at the same time, and it wasn't not like possession or anything like that, but I mean, she was strong enough to do that, and she was revered for it. And so anyway, it was considered to be a very sacred time. Teachings were handed down to her, and that's when she would be taught, you know, what plants she can work with, whose energies were favorable towards her when she was in that time, what didn't work. For instance, sweetgrass. She was to stay away from sweetgrass, not because she was dirty or bad or anything like that, but because it was noticed in previous generations that it didn't work well with a woman who was menstruating. And even menstrual blood and whatnot was considered to be extremely powerful, and like almost like a powerful talisman against bad medicine or bad energy or anything like that, bad magic, whatever you want to call it. For instance, if, say, somebody was trying to send bad magic or bad medicine to another person, they would use menstrual blood to kill that energy, that bad energy or whatever, by putting it, say, around the perimeters of their dwelling, in the four corners or whatever, or in the four directions. So it was considered to be very, very powerful, and wasn't considered to be a bad thing at all. Now, that's our teachings, and that's what's been handed down, blah, blah, blah. Here we are, 2007, and I know there's women out there right now going, yeah, well, that was then. You can go off for the week and stay in the, this moon lodge, and that, where is it now kind of thing, or I can't take time off work for a week, that sort of thing. Totally understandable. I mean, a lot of us live in cities, or we just have all these demands or responsibilities placed upon us, and we just can't take that kind of time anymore the way we once did when we were tribal people. However, we can start by nurturing ourselves more, and we can start by taking that extra time, particularly during the moon time. It's really important for men and women to nurture themselves on a regular basis. I've said that before in another video. But when it's during a woman's moon time, it's even more important to take that time to really honor yourself, to really nurture yourself. If you are a male and you're involved with a female, be extra good to her. Cook supper. Maybe help out a little bit more around the house. Try to make her more comfortable. Don't put her down for having her moon time, or speak in a real negative, disrespectful way. That's one teaching that has followed us, regardless whether or not we're in modern day society, is that's a very sacred time for her. And nobody, no man and no woman, has the right to put down any woman who is having her moon time. And it's considered a taboo if you do try to be disrespectful towards her during that time. Even now, we still use menstrual blood in different rites and rituals. We still have different types of teachings and ceremonies and whatnot that validate and honor and respect the woman who is experiencing her moon time. And for modern day society, it could mean that we need to take that extra time to nurture ourselves. If you can swing it, maybe have a half day off from work to go into rest. I do realize, that can't happen all the time, obviously, but if you can, maybe you got some time in lieu saved up or whatever. If you can do that, fine. Maybe that means going to bed an hour earlier in the evenings, or just taking some time for yourself to rest, to relax, and to honor your own self. Nowadays we have things called like PMS, like premenstrual syndrome and whatnot. And 100 years ago they called it the wandering womb syndrome, where they actually believed that her womb would wander throughout her whole entire body, causing the woman all this discomfort and whatnot. And I really think that the more disconnected we are as a society and as women in general from the sacred process that is going on within us, then we're going to have more symptoms of PMS and more discomfort and whatnot. I think it's really important to try to reclaim that sacredness for yourselves, and to nurture and honor yourselves, and to realize it's not a negative thing. It's not considered to be a bad or taboo thing. It's really a time of great power, and it's a time of honoring yourself on all levels. And I think that's really important. And I think it's really important for men too, to be more respectful of women in general, but particularly when it's on their moon time. At one time this was a very sacred time for women all around the world, in various cultures. She was revered like a goddess, and unfortunately modern day society has lost touch with that. So that's my little spiel on the moon time. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free. So, ciao.